The Spoonie Struggle. This is your host, Jessica. I'm a neuropsychologist and longtime spoonie with Ehlers Danlos, POTS, and a whole host of other syndromes. This show is about the raw, honest look at living life with chronic illness and pain, especially those that are difficult to diagnose and less well-known and understood. Full disclosure, any information discussed in this podcast is strictly the opinion of the host and of the guests and is for informational purposes only. It is not meant as medical advice and should not be taken as such. Always consult with your doctor and medical team. Living with chronic illness can be hard. If you ever find yourselves or someone you love in crisis and need someone to talk to, you can always call the National Suicide Hotline Support Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. They offer free and confidential support in the USA 24/7. And now, the Spoonie Struggle. Hello and welcome to the Spoonie Struggle. This is your host, Jessica. Today we talk to Shayla Symone about her story with Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. Welcome, Shayla.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you. I shared with you before we started recording that I had actually heard you on another podcast about chronic illness, and your story was so powerful that I had to reach out to you. And you guys will hear in a little while why I feel like her story was so important to share and so powerful, because she really does have an incredible story. But I want to start out asking the first question I always ask everyone, which sounds weird, but there's a reason. There's a method to my madness. What is your current pain level from 0 to 10?
Right now, at this very moment, I am at an 8.
Oh, okay.
I would say I'm at an 8.
Oh, fun. And what are your thoughts on that question?
Well, that question, it could be a blessing and a curse sometimes because, it really just depends on who you're asking and how they feel about, pain and chronic pain and things of that nature. I feel a little conflicted because sometimes if I say, well, right now I'm at a 10, am I going to be believed or will I be looked at as somebody like, oh my goodness, this girl is so dramatic. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yes.
That's why I hate it. You can't win.
Yes. It's just like, I could say I'm at a 5 and then you won't believe I'm in pain. I could say I'm at a 10 and then you think I'm exaggerating. So there's really no happy medium sometimes with that question. And they always want to start with that question.
Yes. And most of the time I feel like they don't actually want to know. It's just something that they have to ask.
Right.
But they don't care about.
Script or something.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm in a lot of Spoonie Facebook groups, and I've really gotten a lot of benefit from them. And one person posted a couple weeks ago, actually it wasn't even a couple weeks ago, I don't think it was a few days ago, they created their own scale from 0 to 10, which kind of explained not necessarily how much pain they're in, but what they need to do and what their experience is. So for example, you said you were at an 8. So their 8 is severe pain, functional only on high doses of hospital grade pain medication like lidocaine injections. This is when I start crying. Whereas a 5, like you mentioned, that's low mid-grade pain management necessary, OTC pain medications taken, stretching, massage, arnica, muscle relaxer, prescription pain management, recreational activities begin to be limited. Nobody knows I hurt. I feel like that is a better way than just giving a number, just because for us who are us Spoonies, it really doesn't mean anything. These numbers, like each type of pain is different. Each body part is different. 2 seconds ago, it was different. It means nothing.
Yes, it absolutely does not.
Yeah, so I screenshotted that. Yeah, that was fantastic. And I feel like that at least, none of them will be perfect, but at least that will get our point across a little bit more than a number. That means something different to everybody.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to ask people this question, because it's just so absurd. And the guest that we had last week, Andrew Cantor, he's a disability lawyer. I was listening to him on another show as well. And he doesn't have a chronic illness, but he was getting into how ridiculous that question was. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody outside of the Spoonie community gets it with that question?
Oh my goodness, like my mouth is wide open.
I know. I'm like, he's got to be a good guy if he gets that.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to you, Andrew.
I know, I know. And he's fantastic. I recommend that if anyone hasn't listened to it yet, go back and listen. He's just fantastic.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, what are your current diagnoses and any type of condition that might be associated with that?
So I guess the main issue or the diagnosis, I suffer from type 3 Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, or hypermobility, which is the type 3 Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. I kind of got tongue twisted. Yes, and along with that, I have POTS, I have IBS, I have, gosh, why am I drawing a blank right now? Fibromyalgia. I'm sorry,
Fair.
fibromyalgia. Just all of the above, all of the above.
So the pretty standard ones.
Yes,
It's
yes.
it's funny because so before I was diagnosed with formally with EDS back in November of 2020. And
Okay.
before that it wasn't even on my radar because they had just labeled me in 2007 with fibro and no one decided to go further with it. And I
Right.
was at a retreat center because I have kids with special needs and it was just
Okay.
a thing for moms with special needs. And this one woman, her daughter's special need, she was in her like early teens. She had Ehlers Danlos and she was telling me about the associated things. Like it's usually there are 5, I think she said. So it was EDS, POTS, MCAS, fibro, and the GI stuff. I'm like, wow,
Yes.
that's really fascinating. And then I
Yes.
was diagnosed and I realized, yeah, I mean, quite a few people have all of those diagnoses.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Like you can
unreal.
check off each box almost.
Yeah, yeah, it's so interesting. And as a way for me to cope, I've been learning so much more about these conditions. And it's amazing how it's almost like they're separate, but they're together, like they play off of each other. It's so fascinating to me.
Yes, it is. And with EDS, I'm constantly learning something new. Like
Oh
every
yeah.
day, it's something different.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hmm.
And then they're learning, the
Right.
researchers are learning. So there will always be something new to
Absolutely.
know.
It's always evolving with EDS.
Yeah.
Always.
So I know that you started your journey a little bit earlier than some people do. So how long did it take you until you finally got your proper diagnosis?
Okay, so the first issue I had, I was in elementary school, and then I didn't get an official diagnosis until 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And that was a span of over 10 years, maybe even over 15 years before I got an official diagnosis. And the
Wow.
day I was at Emory and got the official, like, this is EDS, and without a shadow of a doubt, it was really one of the best days ever, because you just,
Yeah.
the feeling of being believed and gratification to know that, my pain is real and it
Yeah.
wasn't in my head. Like all of these symptoms and issues over the years, it was real. It wasn't all psychological, which is
Absolutely.
which is what, throughout the course of the journey, people wanted to contribute everything else to, is a psychological issue.
Absolutely. It drives me absolutely bonkers. I feel like everyone's story that I've heard of, whether it was on Facebook or through this podcast or something else, at least one doctor, usually a lot more, has referred them to psych just because they don't believe it. They think it's all in our heads
Yes.
and that we can't be in that much pain. And I really
Right.
think that's misinformation. They don't actually understand how the body works and how EDS and those associated conditions affects the body. Because even with POTS, that actually is associated with pain as well, just POTS itself, even if you had no comorbid diagnoses. And
Right.
I guarantee you 90% of the doctors you talk to, if not more, will have no idea about that.
Oh, absolutely not. I would say 99.99.
Yeah, probably. I was trying to be nice, but you're
Yes.
absolutely right. It's incredible. And if I recall correctly, I listened to your story a month or so ago, but I hadn't EDS come up earlier, but it really wasn't formally diagnosed until recently.
Correct.
Okay.
So EDS came up when I was about 12, 13 years
Yeah.
old, when I had an injury and I had to go to an orthopedic doctor, and it was Dr. Bush at Children's Orthopedics of Atlanta. And once you have an initial examination and, he said, okay, we'll do this and bend this way and do that. After I dislocated my shoulder,
Hmm.
playing inside the house.
Oh no.
He said, I think you have what's called Ehlers Danlos Syndrome or EDS. And of course, my mom and I, we hadn't never heard of that at all. But
Sure.
once he kind of talking about it, and we kind of started doing our own research, then I started to kind of put some things together and say, oh, well, this is why this has been going on, and this is why that has been going on. And I said in my other interview is, I can remember having pain from like maybe 7 or 8 years old, but I never really said anything because I just figured everybody, had some sort of
Sure.
discomfort. And so nobody else was saying, oh, this hurts this morning and this hurts today and this hurts today. So for a long time, it was just kind of something that I dealt with, on my own, because I just didn't know that it wasn't normal to be in some kind of pain every day.
Honestly, I felt that way until a year or two ago. I just assumed everyone had this kind of pain. And
Wow.
yeah, okay, so let me get on that for a minute. And I apologize. I think we're going to get on a lot of great tangents to everybody.
Oh,
I think
no,
it's going to be great.
absolutely.
So, two things. One, my father in law, who's in his late 60s, said that he has never had chronic pain and rarely gets pain at all. And I was just like, and this was like a year or two ago. I
Wow.
still literally can't comprehend that. I have never, since I was like 8, been in that situation. And I'm like, literally, what does it feel like to not be in pain?
Exactly.
I don't get it at all.
Yes, me either. Me either. It's so
It's
foreign to me.
yeah. And up until recently, I thought that massages were supposed to hurt everywhere. And that's just how, I mean, seriously, I
No, me
thought it
too.
was supposed to hurt, and that's just what it was, but it was good for the body. And
Right.
I've had some fantastic massage therapists lately who were
Mhm.
like, yeah, no, it's even the deep tissue usually isn't supposed to hurt unless there's like one specific spot. I'm like, then
Right.
why do I want to jump through the roof the
Yes.
entire time?
Oh goodness. Yes, I had a massage recently, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm used to pain, so I guess this
Right.
is this is this is what the people want. So let me try it. Let me push through.
Right.
But I was about to jump, like you said, I was about to
Yeah.
like jump off that table and just tell her, you know what? Never mind, never mind.
Yeah. I mean, I guess most people don't experience what we do, which again is also is foreign to me, but
Right.
so they don't need to explain, this is what a massage should feel like. But for us who have
Absolutely.
us boonies who have chronic pain, we just assume that our situation is how everyone's feeling.
Exactly. And that's so profound because like I said, I never said anything. And, I was in gymnastics and cheerleading and, doing certain stunts and things when I would land or, if things would pop or kind of,
Oh, yeah.
sublux or little dislocate a little bit, but I still never said anything because, I was kind of able to just, shake it off and keep going. And so not to go on another tangent, but when I was in gymnastics, they would just tell my mom and dad all the time, oh my gosh, she is just so flexible. She is amazing. She
Right.
can do anything we ask her to do.
Oh no.
Looking back on it, that probably was not the best thing to just stretch my body to the limits. But of course, with
Right.
EDS, with the elasticity and all those things, it was easy for me to manipulate into
Sure.
certain contortions or, and things like that. And so, they were saying she should be in the circus. Like that's just how flexible
Right.
and great I was at, doing certain things until, my mom, she was just saying, you shouldn't be having these petty injuries like this. Like
Hmm.
it shouldn't just be happening this often. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like I said, fast forward a couple years later, she pulled me out because she just wasn't comfortable with it.
Good for
But then
her.
when I thank her to this day for
Yeah.
having that motherly instinct because
Right.
that could have ended in disaster. But fast forward to the injury and when I was like 12 or 13 and then going to Dr. Bush, that's when the EDS conversation started. And that's when my journey started per se.
Wow. Wow. And
Yes.
I want to get into your journey in just a moment. But before we do, did you have any misdiagnoses along the way, things that you know now actually weren't the case?
The misdiagnoses really the most the most profound ones were just psychological issues.
Yeah.
And going back to my mom, I just have to thank her for just being an advocate for me, because even now, sometimes I shut down, but I'm getting better because, sometimes you can just get so frustrated and
Yeah.
not even want to talk anymore or deal with it. But it was just always psychological, psychological, psychological. And even things coming up with race, or people saying, well, Black people are strong, so I'm sure, you'll be all right. That type of, sometimes that sort of answer
Oh
or
my God.
response. And so it was just, it was a tough road, definitely a tough road, but it was
Yeah.
always, she needs to just see a therapist because it's a lot. She could have anxiety. She might be stressed. Maybe she has mild depression, but it all went back to psychological issues.
Yeah, psychotherapy will totally cure connective tissue disorders, apparently. It's
Right. A
amazing. I never
genetic
knew.
disorder.
I never knew.
Right.
It's unreal.
But if anybody finds it, let me know.
Yeah, you've already given us little bits and pieces, but tell us the rest of your chronic illness and diagnosis story.
Okay, so after seeing Dr. Bush in his office, and he kind of flagged me with EDS, of course, you can't go to your PCP and say, yeah, can you test me for EDS, type situation. So
Right.
me and Dr. Bush formed a great relationship, because after that, I had multiple knee surgeries, and multiple shoulder surgeries, for stabilization, because my
Right.
joints just became so lax and loose. I know I had at least, I lost count. I know it was like over 12, 15 surgeries. And
Ooh,
so during that time, I saw a rheumatologist, I believe, and I was over 18. No, I was over 21, because I was so sad because I had aged out of peds. And I just had that level
right.
of comfort, with the CHOA team and all that kind of stuff. And so once I aged out, it was kind of like, well, we can kind of like start to see what's going on. And so I saw a rheumatologist and I saw pain management. I saw a rheumatologist and a pain management doctor. And I never forget the rheumatologist. I was about 18, 19. And this was the first time my mom wasn't able to go to an appointment with me because she was on a business trip for work.
Oh,
And
okay.
so she was like, oh, why don't you just reschedule? And I said, you know how long it takes to get into these specialty
Oh, yeah.
appointments. So I said, no, I'll be fine. I'll be able to do it. I'll go by myself, blah, blah, blah. So I go to the appointment, and the lady, as soon as she comes in, she sits down and she says, yeah, well, I've read your chart and I see that it might be a suspicion of Ehlers Danlos, but Black people don't get Ehlers Danlos. So I'm just going to refer you out for psychotherapy.
I just, I heard you talk about that in your other episode, and I'm like, I just don't
Yes,
understand that.
I,
How,
it
why,
was,
where, what?
it was, when I said that was the most humiliating thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Absolutely.
Because first of all, it was no, hi, how are you? I'm Dr. So and so. What brings you in today? How long have you been having these issues? What makes it
Right.
worse? What makes it better? Just all the normal and questions with decorum that you would ask a new patient. And so to just be shut down like that, it really, really, it messed me up. I'll just say that it messed
Yeah, of
me up. And
course.
I was so depressed, because I just thought, oh, this is the day that we're going to get on the track to a diagnosis, because I know when I wake up in the morning, I know it's not in my head. I know it's not. And
Absolutely.
so, I said, never mind. I left the appointment. I went to the car, I cried, and then I called my mom, let her know what happened. Of course, my mom, being the helicopter mom she was ready to get on the flight back, come up to the
Yeah.
doctor's office, talk to the doctor. And I'm just like, no, Bobby, it's okay. And she's like, no, it's not okay. And that was kind of a turning point too in my journey to be more of an advocate for myself and speak up more, because in that moment, it was just, I felt like looking back on it, it might have been a good time, for education, or just to let her know, first, that's not how you address patients. And second of all, just to make a blanket statement that I can't have a condition because I'm Black. That's just
Unbelievable. Yeah.
exactly
I mean,
unbelievable,
you
like you
can't really
said.
get more racist than that. Like it's
At
like
all. I'm
to
just
to
like,
say that you can't have that condition because of your race, and to imply that because of that you can't feel pain, is the
right.
most it just it
It's
was one of the worst
baffling.
things I've ever heard. I'm like, I honestly,
Right.
my poor husband has had to hear me rant about this for like a month now because
Uh-huh.
it's so infuriating how ignorant and racist and awful that is.
Yes, yes, all of the above.
I am
Just,
so sorry you experienced that. That
oh,
is
thank
just
you. I
awful.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't go to the doctor, I know, for at least 6, 8 months after that, because
Sure.
it was just, I was traumatized because I didn't even get to open my mouth. She just
Right.
came in and said, I have patients to get to. And I'm just like, I'm just as important as the rest of these patients.
Absolutely.
I can't help that I'm Black. And, I can't help that you know, don't think that I could have something because I'm Black. But in that moment, I just wanted help. That's all I wanted. I just wanted answers and I wanted help. And so that was just, that was at the point I was like, wait, I never had to have a diagnosis in my life. I'll just be fine with
Right.
treating myself and, doing what I have to do on my own. But, time passed and I went back to my primary care physician, Dr. Baldwin. And of course, I told her what happened and she was furious and couldn't believe it. But she referred me, she went on ahead, since I had already seen a rheumatologist, referred me out to Emory.
Mhm.
And that's the appointment where I, got the official diagnosis. But this was, ooh, maybe 4 or 5 years down the line from that rheumatologist appointment. So even in between those times, it was really kind of dormant, I guess you could say, because I mean, really nobody knew what to do. Nobody really knew what was going on. I was still going to an orthopedic surgeon, and I call them my maintenance surgeries, but getting getting my
No.
my knees tightened up and my shoulders tightened up, and even the orthopedic doctor, Dr. Christopher Jones, he actually worked under Dr. Bush during his residency, and so he was like, yeah, you have it, yes, like Dr. Bush is absolutely correct. And I said, well, yeah, we can all speculate and say that it's that, but I went to a rheumatologist that told me, what she said. So it's just like, I don't even want to go to another specialist
Of
anymore and try to have
course.
to, defend myself and prove to this person that, I'm going through and feeling what I'm feeling. But I'm very thankful that Dr. Baldwin went on ahead and, put in the referral for Emory. And, she totally respected my decision if I didn't want to go, not to go to that appointment. But I went. And like I said, that was like one of the best days of my life, to just, hear the words and hear the doctor, look at me, and examining me. And even the way my skin looked and felt, he just knew. He was like, yes, you are
Sure.
an EDS patient. There is no doubt about it in my mind or in my head that you have EDS. So it was a lot, starting at that other appointment, but I'm thankful that I did decide to go through with it, because the just knowing and the reassurance that it's not in your head is something that really kind of changed my whole perspective on my EDS diagnosis and what I go through daily.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you said that really struck me is that you had to kind of defend yourself and prove that you had a diagnosis. And that is one of the things that is so unfair about being a spoonie. We are not lawyers. We should not have to defend and prove anything.
Absolutely.
We are there for medical care. We should
Hmm.
not have to come in with loads of research to prove
Right.
our case that
Right.
we have X diagnosis and can you please help us?
Please,
It's
like pleading,
absurd.
begging. Absolutely.
Right. And like I have I have such fear every time I have to go see a new doctor because I fully expect them to laugh me out of the office
Me too.
about me, how baloney I am, and how none of this is real and it's all in my head, because I've had that experience for the vast majority of my life.
Right.
And, to have to come in with a binder of all of my medical records
Mhm.
proving this is
Right.
actually what I have, please don't think I'm crazy and kick me out, is
Right.
is mind-boggling to me.
Right. It's like you want to, as soon as they come in, like start pleading your case, like you're on a defense stand, and
Right.
to just let them know, like I'm not here. It, like even going back to when I tried. I know it was probably 3 or 4 years to get, a prescription pain medication for when,
Right.
the pain is just too bad to where I can't get out of the bed. But, I have work, I had school, life had to go on. So it was just, hard for me to get a pain medication. And this was before got with my primary care doctor now, Dr. Baldwin. She was actually the doctor who finally like gave me that prescription. But before, it's just like, oh well, we know how your people are with opioids
Oh
and
my
pain
God.
medication. So, and I won't say that I was young. It's like really young. So these doctors, they were just showing their butts, for a lack of a better word.
Oh
But I'm
my
just like,
God.
you know how your people are. So we're just not going to just give you these medications. You can try physical therapy, water aerobics, mindfulness, and meditation. Mind you, I've been in physical therapy for 5
Yeah.
years. So, going faithfully. But like I said, sometimes you have to be able to function. And
Right.
yeah,
You're
physical
young.
therapy.
You have a lot of life ahead of you.
Right. Like, I was in college and it was a lot. So I'm thankful, again to Dr. Baldwin for being an advocate for me and like saying, no, we're gonna get you, maintenance meds. So those days when you're just in excruciating pain, you're able to take your medication and still function as best you can throughout the day.
I just, again, this is one of the things that makes me so angry. You there should never ever be a blanket statement of anything about any race or any group of people. But
Right.
also, you can't just say, well, because I have this racist view, I'm
Hmm.
not going to help you, oh person who is in chronic pain from this legitimate connective tissue disorder. I
Right.
just
Right.
I just can't, my brain just doesn't understand how people can be so horrible.
Exactly. And
It's
then
just
to be in the
awful.
medical field and
Right.
to you're helping people are supposed to. Like you have people's lives in your hands. And for you to have this thought process is actually terrifying.
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
it's absolutely awful, and I don't understand how people like that get into the medical field and how the medical field is where it is right now. I mean,
Right. Right.
it's gotta change, and it's gotta change now.
It does. It does.
So that
It
leads me
does.
into my next question. It sounds like, my question was, did you find that the doctors listened to you when you told you told them your symptoms? And it sounds like other than like two of them, no, none of them did.
Correct. Correct. Hmm.
Unbelievable.
Hmm.
Unbelievable. So, in addition to, unfortunately, all of the things that you've mentioned, what are some of the other challenges that you've experienced with EDS and the associated things along the way?
I think another main issue is the invisibility of EDS for so many
Right.
people. Majority of people who suffer with EDS, on the outside, they look completely fine. And
Right.
so there's an issue there. I've had many issues dealing with that and looking okay. People look at me and say, well, you look great. After you tell them like, this is going on. I just had surgery, did it, but you look fine. You look great to me. You look fine. And that irritates me so much because it's just like, we have to, as a society, we can't just look at the cover. You have to open the book and read the pages. Anybody can
Yeah.
look fine on the inside. And nobody wants to go around looking how, I don't want to go around looking how I feel because that would just be god awful. So I mean, that's still a daily struggle. It's just trying to, again, prove that I do suffer with a disability and an invisible illness, and I shouldn't get chastised in these looks and stares when I'm parking in my handicap spot.
Right.
No, I don't have a walker. I don't have to use a wheelchair or anything, thank goodness, right now. But it's just like I still have limitations, and I just shouldn't be judged because I don't fit your mold of what a disability or illness should look like.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I just saw my rheumatologist a couple weeks ago, and I very, very nervously asked him if he would sign paperwork about handicap parking. And I was so ready for him to just kick me out of the office. And he was open to it, and he was very kind about it, but I was so scared.
Right.
But I recently, we're trying to figure out if I have craniocervical instability, and I've been having
Okay.
all sorts of neck problems. So I've needed a neck brace, and
Okay.
my knees have been subluxing like crazy, and I'm so scared I'm going to fall. So I've been using a cane, and honestly, that was a quick adjustment because then my invisible illness was no longer invisible, and I
Ah,
didn't have to get nasty comments and weird
right.
looks. And I'm like, you know what? I actually like this because then I don't have to deal with the nastiness. And that's not a fun place to be.
It's
That is
not.
just not a good place to be.
It's not. People are just so bold and rude. And, I've gotten out of the car and people, you need to give your grandmother her handicap placard back. What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because
It's
you
just,
can't
it,
you
it's
can't have a
baffling.
chronic illness until you're 70, I guess.
Exactly. And I know I'll never forget, I was on campus at my school and I got a ticket because they felt like I
Oh
was
my
using
God.
somebody else's. It just came to me. I got a ticket because they felt like I was using somebody else's handicap placard, and it wasn't right. It was unethical. It was just all of these things. And I tell you, I stormed over to campus, security police, the,
Yeah.
the parking people, and I was just like, you know what? All of y'all need some sensitivity training, because
Oh
for
my
you to
God.
just assume that I took somebody's handicap placard. And the guy wrote on the ticket, somebody could really need this spot. No, sir, I really need this spot. I
Yeah.
just had my fifth knee surgery. So I
Oh,
need this spot. I even had a knee brace on. So I don't know if he thought, no, it was just something for sport or something, but that really infuriated me. To read the words and then just, think like, oh, they really think that I am using somebody else's handicap placard because I don't want to walk far. I don't want to park all the
right.
way in the back. I want to park closer to the building. It was just absolutely humiliating when that situation happened. It was like, here I go again,
Absolutely.
EDS, having to
Ugh.
prove myself again.
First of all, I am so sorry. Second of all, just a blanket statement, people suck.
They
It's
do.
just, so
They do.
I have not gotten my handicap tag yet, but to preempt all of this nonsense, because I've pretty much, those are the only stories out there, are horror stories about using it. I created my own little business card size thing with the explanation of what it's like to live with EDS on one side, and on the other side, treatments for it and every associated condition. And it says, please be kind. I feel worse than I look. So if anyone gives me a look, I'm just going to hand them one because
Oh
I don't want
my
to deal with
goodness.
I don't
I
want to
might
deal
have
with
to steal
BS.
that idea.
Yes, and if I remember, I have to figure out a way to post it on the website so people can
Yes,
just print it off, or they can just download it and order it for themselves. Because
right.
first of all, it shouldn't have to be up to us to explain our private medical conditions.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, it falls to that. So,
Yes.
having something to explain, this is what's going on, in a really high emotion, nerve wracking, upsetting situation can be really helpful.
Yes. Yes. I love, yes. Like you're absolutely right. It shouldn't have to be that. We shouldn't have to do that. But, society, like you said, people just suck. And,
Yeah.
sometimes I just want to, educate people and just let them know, everything is not as it seems. Like, we are all fighting battles every day. So you don't even know what it took for us to get in the car to get to this parking spot, to go into this store, this business. So it's just, it's so much that people just don't know.
Absolutely. So what are some other ways that you've had to advocate for yourself through your journey?
I know I've had to educate a professor. I missed, and this is crazy. I had, you know how you're able to get the paperwork in school for,
Right.
you know what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about. I'm so sorry, I
Yeah.
can't remember the correct terminology. I'm drawing a blank, but I had that on file, when I was in school, and this was just a episode where my pain was extremely high. I went into the hospital, I stayed for a couple of days and they ran meds, trying to get the pain level down. I went back home. So this is all over a span of 2 weeks. So I missed 2 weeks of class. And so I emailed the professor while I was in the hospital, just letting him know this is what's going on. One of my friends in class is keeping me abreast of what's going on in class, making sure that I'm keeping up with the readings and, sending me all the assignments. No response. I emailed him again, and it was kind of the same message. I'm out of the hospital now. I'm at home, but I'm not going to be able to physically return to class until such and such date. Just wanted to keep you in the know what's going on.
Right.
So he didn't respond then. So that's two communications where I didn't get a response. So finally, when I was able to go back to school, I went to his office hours and I was like, can I speak to you? I just wanted to let you know. And I had all my documentation in hand, let you know what was going on. I have a chronic illness and, I wasn't able to come to class, but, you just tell me what your expectations are as a professor.
Sure.
And when I'll
It's
be
the
able to
responsible
make up,
thing.
right. And, what my timeline is for making everything up. And so he's just looking, skimming through the paperwork, and he looks at me and he's just like, I mean, you come in here every day with your makeup done and all these designer bags.
Oh my
Nothing is
God.
wrong with you, Miss Swint.
Oh my God.
Right. So I'm just like, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. What? It was just, I was baffled. I was absolutely
Wow.
baffled. And so I was infuriated. So I said, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I left, and when I stormed out, went to my car, I was about to call my mom, but I didn't end up calling her. I was just so angry. So I'm just sitting in the car. And so at this time, I had just done an article with my best friend. She does a blog, and she had just did a story on me and EDS and invisible illnesses, trying to just spread awareness. And
Yeah.
so I went to the library. I printed it off. Then I went back to his office, and I was just like, Dr. So and so, this is an article about my journey in my life and living with an invisible illness. And I feel like you could really use some education and sensitivity
Yeah.
as it pertains to people with invisible illnesses. I tried to come to you, be responsible, and ask you, what your expectations were to get these assignments done. I was not like I
Right.
was just on vacation because I didn't feel like coming to class for 2 weeks. Absolutely not.
Right.
Who wants to fall that far behind? You know what I mean?
And pay all that
So
money to not use it. I mean,
right. I
honestly.
paid for my education. Like, nothing is being handed to me. And I'm trying to manage it all and do the best I can. And so I gave him the article and just said, when you have time, you should read it. So a couple days go by. I didn't go to his class the next day because I'm just like mad. I
Yeah.
went to the department chair to let her know the situation, and the school counselor, because it was just I couldn't let him get away with that. And like I said, after the situation with the doctor, I kind of made a promise to myself. As uncomfortable as it might be or hard at times, you just advocate for yourself as much as you can.
Right.
And so I went to the disability service center, let them know what happened, because I just felt like he could have done this to somebody else who's dealing with something, you know what I mean? And they might not have had the strength or the want to hold him accountable for this. But I would never want anybody else to feel the way I felt. So that's why I just went so hard with making sure he was held accountable and just
Sure.
letting him know, like, this cannot be okay. So, long story short, he was, he had some consequences he had to deal with. He apologized, profusely apologized. And they actually put me like on the board at the disabilities department to kind of be a student advocate. So when other
good.
students felt like they couldn't talk to certain professors, or that certain professors weren't being very, understanding or being very insensitive, that I could kind of be that liaison to just, if they needed to talk to somebody, be there with them and just be that kind of support. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like a little highlight of something that, made
Sure.
me happy, because I'm just like, he just can't get away with this. And I would
No.
never want somebody else to feel this way ever. It was just horrible. And, to this day, he emails me, checks on me, I've been following your journey and thank you for educating me. And, that was a turning point. He said that was a turning point for him, and how he
Thank
looked at
God.
certain things in people's. And I was like, well, it starts with one. So if I can, educate one person, maybe one day I can educate 100 or 200.
It's it's just unbelievable. You did absolutely every single thing right. I mean, you were responsible and it took initiative from the first second. And you
Yes,
even brought all your records, which shouldn't have been
yes,
necessary because those are your private
exactly.
medical records.
Private. Like I
But
printed off
yeah,
everything so this man could like see, this is what, and I just feel like he was just kind of, he had some real issues going on, because it was another
clearly.
situation where a girl, told him that her mom passed away. And he said, my mom passed and I still graduated with my PhD 2 weeks later. So you need to be in class. And
Wow.
I'm just, he had a lot of personal things going on as well, but
Yeah.
that's the most insensitive thing I've heard ever in life. So like I said, I even took the time, like, all that medication, how you just feel horrible. But I'm like, let me email all of my professors and let them know what's going
Yeah.
on. And I won't say everybody else was absolutely amazing. Email me back, take care of yourself. When you get back, we will, square up everything here. You just get better. He was the only one who was just a butthole.
And that's enough. That's
Right,
enough.
right. It was one too many.
So, what kinds of treatments have you tried for EDS and POTS and IBS, fibro, all that stuff?
I've tried every
Sounds about right.
right. I've tried, exercising more, and then I overdid it, because people say, if you just exercise more, people love to tell you to exercise more.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, well, let me try it, and that was horrible, and ended up, dislocated my knee, and my hip came out because I was just going too hard. But incorporating, just I walk on the treadmill, try to walk on the treadmill at least 2 days a week for 30 minutes. That has helped me a lot. I don't know what it's doing, but it's helped a little bit. I
Okay.
tried to change my diet completely and like go vegan and all of that, but it didn't help me. And I guess I have
Yeah.
to realize that everything is not going to help everybody.
Fair.
So I've read, rave reviews. Oh, I took meat out my diet and I feel absolutely amazing. And I took, the meat out my diet and went vegan. It was like 6 months and I was still having, pain. So it was to the point where I was just like, you know what? Well, I'm going back to meat. I love meat, hot wings and pizza and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I tried that. I've tried, holistic approaches and, different herbs and everything, like from the herbal store. And some things have helped. And, CBD has helped me a little bit. But I guess I'm trying to find something just because this is going to take it away. And I
Fair.
have to realize it's not going to go away. Some things are going to help more than others. But this is something that, you're going to deal with forever, pretty
Right.
much. So it's just that, what capacity are you going to have to deal with it with? And like I said, my maintenance surgeries, those help. I am like so far behind. I need to
Oh,
have my
no.
shoulder done and my knee done. So like yesterday, but with the pandemic and everything was just pushed back. So now it's just like, I don't even want to go through another surgery again.
Right.
Like, well, doesn't it get easier? No, it doesn't get easier. It gets worse. I feel like the older that I get, I'm not able, to bounce back like
Yeah.
I could when I was younger. it's the surgeries that's my maintenance, because after we get off, I'm gonna have to put my sling on because my shoulder is just like hanging on
Right.
my leg.
Yeah.
It's just it's hanging on my thread.
I
Yes.
bet we all have just a bag of all the braces ever, and we just pick and choose what we need that day.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just on Amazon scrolling to see if I could find a pillow for my back while I'm sitting at my desk at work, because my back has been hurting me. And like you said you've been having that problem. So I have an appointment actually next week to address some neck issues I've been having, because my neck has been killing me. And I know I have a
Mm.
straight neck, which I didn't know
Yep.
not normal, but I was like, oh, okay, we can add this to the list too. So yes, I need to start addressing that. I have my topicals, I have my heat blanket, my weight blanket, my TENS unit, all the special pillows, and a bath stool. Like, it's little things like that. It just helps me get through the day. I was just telling my mom, showers just take everything out of me, and I didn't realize until here lately. I don't know if it's because I'm having longer days at work, but it's just like these showers are like, that's a whole ordeal, and I'm just
Yeah.
exhausted. Like,
Well, I bet especially with POTS, that's
yes,
from what I hear, that's the hardest of the conditions to take a shower with.
yes, you feel ready to pass out, but it's just like,
Yeah.
the showers have just been absolutely, like, they just been exhausting. So
Yeah.
I invested in a shower stool. So I'm hoping,
Nice.
being able to sit and while I shower now is going to, alleviate some of those post shower symptoms that I deal with.
Hopefully. Yeah,
Yes,
I've actually always taken showers at night, and I think now that I learn more about this, now I know why. I've just
right,
shifted
right,
to
because
that.
you can't do anything afterwards.
Right, right.
It's nothing else to do but go lay down. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you've already partially answered my next question, but how else do your conditions impact your life?
Oh, it impacts dating, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like people just don't understand. It's impacted friendships, like lifelong friendships that have dissipated because, I can be, we had to postpone because it wasn't my illness, but my mom. But I could say, yeah, let's go out Friday and, get dinner, have drink, blah, blah, blah. That's on, Sunday. And when Friday comes, I can't, get out of the bed. Or even
Right.
from Thursday to Friday, something might change. So it's just really difficult to find people who really understand how unreliable, I say my health could be at times, because it's just, I could be totally fine to do something. And then when that time comes, even an hour before, if I have to pass or, postpone, I feel like real friendships and true friendships, it shouldn't be an issue. You know what I mean? It should be, oh, Shayla, that's fine. We'll come over to you. And so I'm thankful that I still have, I've learned it's always quality over quantity, but, true
Sure.
friends that really, really understand that and have, stood the test of time and are there for me as it pertains to that. And in my friendships and relationships, that's a whole nother podcast, girl.
It's hard. It's so
Yes.
hard.
And so, I'm always that's well, when do I tell, a guy that, that I have it, that I deal with this, or, this, that, and the third. And some people say, you don't ever tell them. And then some people
Oh
say, no,
no.
you need to tell them right away. So, I put dating on the shelf right now because it's just sometimes it's more stress than really what it needs to
Right.
be. And I believe that my person, will find me and we'll cross paths when it's meant
Yeah.
to be. And I feel comfortable and they'll be accepting of everything that comes with Shayla when that time comes. So that's where I am with that. But I don't even remember what the question was. I'm just talking.
How does your condition impact your life? It sounds like
Okay,
it's pretty
okay,
impactful.
okay. My job, I'm thankful that I'm in a job now where they understand my illness
Wow.
completely and make all the accommodations
That's
that I need.
fantastic.
It's a true blessing because while I was, I worked different jobs and stuff, in school, and I would say I put them on blast all the time. T-Mobile, they were not accommodating to disability. I simply asked if I could have a stool to sit behind the counter.
Right.
And then I even started with saying when there were no customers in the store.
Right.
Like when we're, in between times when there was no customers in the store, if I could have a stool and, just to sit down. And it's like, no. And I didn't think it would be an issue because I went to AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, and they all had stools in there for their associates. So I was
Sure.
like, oh, okay, well, it'll be fine. And so they said, absolutely not. A stool is not the look that they're going for in their stores. And if I need to sit down, I can clock out and go sit down in the back.
What does that even mean? It's not the look they're going for.
Exactly.
I'm sorry that your medical condition gets in the way of the look they're going for.
Yes.
Oh
I
my
said
God.
the look, and so they had one bench in the middle of the store for customers. So I would sit down on the bench, when nobody was in the store. And this is when I found out they had cameras watching us. So I get a call and it was like, Shayla, you can't be sitting down on the clock. If you want to sit down, you clock out.
Oh my God.
That was the day I just sent my effective immediately. I will no longer
Yeah.
work for you. I'm not dealing with this. There was so many petty rules and again, well, you look fine, so we just don't really understand why you would need to sit down. And this is of course after I've sent them my whole dissertation of my medical file and records and everything that, all the knee surgeries I've had and, everything I deal with and the chronic pain, just to let them know this is not vanity or anything because I want to stand up. I don't want to stand up for my shift. And then it was another issue where I couldn't come through the front door. So the way the store was made, it was kind of like on an incline. So they wanted us to go in through the back. And so, going go up and down the hill every time I wanted to go in and out of the store was just too much. That hurt my knees. I could feel like my skin where they had rods. It would just burn when I was walking up and down that incline. So I asked, can I go through the front when I'm coming, to and from work?
Sure.
And of course they said no, because that's going to mess our count up because we have a counter on the door. So you're going to mess the numbers up if you're coming in and out the front. So that right there, I'm just like, that was kind of my first experience, with, I guess, discrimination in the workplace, because it was just, they were not willing to accommodate me in any way as it pertained to those requests. And I didn't think they were anything outlandish or just over
absolutely
the top,
not.
But they were just not with it. So like I said, after they gave me that call that day and said, yeah, we're looking at the cameras, you can't be sitting down. If you want to sit down, you need to clock out. I just left. I quit because I'm not dealing with that. I'm a great employee. I'm just, this is really discrimination. And, my mom was like, we could file a lawsuit against them and da. I'm like, we could, but that's a whole nother thing with money and lawyers and time and effort. And it's just, I just wanted to be done with it. So
understandable.
That's how I left T-Mobile. But like I said, now I'm at a place where I'm just truly thankful that, they're there to assist me as best I can. Last week, I just had to take a day because when I woke up and I, got out the bed, everything always hurts, obviously, but it was on 10,000 that day. And I text, my boss and just like, I cannot even make it today. And it was, please take care of yourself. We'll see you when you get back and we will miss you dearly. And I'm just like,
that's fantastic.
It's a blessing. Like I wanted to cry. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Someone who gets it and cares about your well-being.
Like genuinely care. Yes, absolutely.
Talk about discrimination, like disability discrimination. That's just awful. Like, how is your job? How is the the employer, how is it any of their business if you look sick or not? You're not
Exactly.
inside a person's body. They're by no means medical professionals
Right.
in the
At all.
telecommunications business.
Yes,
Oh
at
my
all.
God. Oh, I am so sorry. And it's even less fair because I completely understand your desire not to move forward with a lawsuit because it's continuing trauma for you. So,
Absolutely.
and potentially financially not
Hmm.
viable. So,
Right.
it's just more discrimination against you that, it's not viable to say, you know what, this cannot happen.
Right.
It's so
Right.
unfair.
It is. It is. And it was a very upsetting experience.
Yeah.
It was just so upsetting, like that. And the doctor, those like on the top, the professor. You really don't realize how much you go through until you're really talking about it. I'm over here like, dang,
Right.
girl.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So that being said, how do you cope with all the nonsense of the pain and the difficulties that it causes and the discrimination, these tough experiences? What has that been like for you?
I would say more so is talking about it and
Okay.
starting the conversation because initially I would not talk about it like at all. I wouldn't post about it. Like you would never know because I was just that closed about it. But I've made a complete change. I talk about it all the time. I don't care if you don't want to hear me talk about it because I'm going to still talk about it. I tell my people on Instagram, if you don't want to see me talking about my EDS journey and struggles, then unfollow me. That's fine. But I
Yeah.
want to continue to talk about it because I know how it felt when I finally, and I just have to say, social media has been amazing because,
Good.
being in different groups and, online support groups and, different chat rooms and just everything, just knowing like, oh, these are my people. Like I have EDS friends that I haven't even met, but we've met
Right.
on Instagram and we have become, friends, because we're, each other's person, per se, because we both know what this zebra journey is like.
Right.
So definitely talking about it and being more open and candid about my personal experiences has really been great. And I actually got a message the other day to say that it was another girl that was African American, and she said, "I never knew that it was anybody else." And I said, "Trust me, I never knew it was anybody else that was African American with it. Although I know that that's not true that Black people can't get it, obviously, but like you just have to laugh when you hear that. Like, are you serious? But it's
Oh my God. This makes
right.
me so angry.
Yes, yes, like you're Black, okay, whatever. But anyway, like just knowing, like I've just made so many conscious relationships and met so many great people, and it's just been absolutely amazing. Journaling has helped me a lot. Writing down every single thing has helped me, and because sometimes you don't want to talk to people, and I feel like when I'm journaling and I'm writing, I can say whatever I want
Yeah.
and to whatever extent I want and get it out, and that helps me a lot. I do have a therapist that I try to see 2 to 3 times a month,
Great.
just to keep everything going because I'm on anxiety meds. I'm on a mild antidepressant medication. 'Cause mental health with a chronic illness,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it goes hand in hand. So you know that really helps me is the therapy. What else? Mindfulness and meditation. My doctor sent me to a class, and I really enjoyed that. I didn't think it would do anything at first, but after researching and experiencing it, it does help me to in some ways. And so I'm glad to have tried that. And and resting. I don't know, that doesn't sound really like, oh wow, you rest, but I was the type of
It's
person
so
to just,
important.
yes, just go, 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 and not listen to my body and then be forced to rest, when your body's like, okay, I've had enough. So I was just telling my mom last night, I'm like, Mommy, I don't do anything. She's like, what do you mean? I said, I just feel like I don't go out and do anything anymore. She's like, well, what are you trying to do in the pandemic, Shayla? And I said, I don't know. It's just, I feel like I used to have like, when I was younger, I was always going out, always, because I was kind of like a people pleaser. And at that point, it was still fairly new to me. And I'm like, well, I'm not
Right.
going to let this illness beat me. I'm not, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going out with my friends. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I am finally at the place where when I'm at home and I'm able to watch my shows and read my books and just be in my own space, it's just amazing. Like, it just brings me so much comfort and so much peace. Like, I have absolutely no qualms about not being this huge, big social butterfly anymore.
Right.
I do enjoy going out and,
Yeah.
socializing, but I'm at a place now where I guess I don't feel guilty about not being able to do it. Like, I take my days, just like I told you with work last week. I take my days when I need them, and I don't feel bad about it because I know that a lot of people wouldn't last in our shoes anyway. So
Absolutely.
I just I'm okay with taking the days and the rest that I needed. So that's why I tell all spoonies, like, you have to listen to your body and you have to be okay with taking those days of rest, because I feel like we don't give ourselves as much credit as we should. And
Yes,
you
absolutely.
know, you're doing the best you can every single day. And so taking your day or week or 2 weeks of rest, it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that at all. It's okay.
Absolutely. It's so important. And I think, nowadays with the way society is, everything's go, go, go.
Right.
And we don't want to rest, and it's hard
Mhm.
for us, but it's so important and
It
it makes
is
such
so
a
important.
difference.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. So what do you feel like your biggest or greatest triumph against your diagnosis has been?
I think just using my voice and
Yeah.
and talking about it and just starting that conversation, because like I said, for so long I was just so shut up about it. Like, I'm not going to talk about it to anybody. You look on my social media page, you're not going to know that I have anything, that I'm dealing with anything. So I think not being ashamed of it or being self-conscious about it has been my biggest triumph, because like I said in the beginning, it was like absolutely non-existent. And now it's like, you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. What do you want to know? That type of situation.
Right.
So I think for me, that's one of the biggest triumphs, is just not being ashamed of it. And as bad as it can be at times, just embracing it and accepting, this is my journey. And I just feel like if, I could be somebody's reason to want to open up or to, bring awareness to it, that type of thing.
Absolutely. And it's so important because people who are not in the Spoonie community don't really get it. And it's so important for people to understand, or at
Mm,
least have some understanding of what we're going through,
right,
so that we
right.
can we can get through our days without discrimination.
Yes, yes, in every facet.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any worries, fears, or concerns about the future, or what life will be like with EDS and especially POTS?
Oh man, yes, like all kinds of things. Like, will I be able to have a baby or have a family? Like, what will is it going to, will I wake up one day and it'll just be progressively worse? Or will a surgery not work one time? Will I not wake up from a surgery one time? Or will I just become so engulfed in pain where I can't even, go anymore, work or, have some kind of, social life, just anything like that? Will there never be a cure? Or then I think about, well, if I have children, will they have to suffer with this? Because, it's genetic and
Right.
things of
Yep.
that nature. It's a lot. And that was another thing too. Like, when I first got the official diagnosis, my anxiety was through the roof, because
Sure.
reading, being online, sometimes it's not
Oh,
the best
yeah.
thing. And so we just know that there's so many different, spectrums and everything with EDS. But I feel like the biggest thing is so much that's unknown too. So there's
Yeah.
it's, they're still, researching, and everything is evolving daily, and we just don't know, what it can, entail all the time. So that's another main worry or fear of mine, in dealing with it.
That's understandable. It really is. And I feel like that's the hardest thing for most people in most situations is that uncertainty.
Right.
And unfortunately with EDS and all the stuff that goes with it, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. We just don't know.
Yeah. And that being said, what are your goals for the future, especially if those fears or worries don't come true?
So, get married, have a child, expand my business. I recently started a like a thrifting business, so I do
Oh, cool.
resale online, live Facebook sales. I do want to go back to school and get my master's degree and pursue school psychology.
Nice.
Yes, thank you. I want to start my own podcast and talking about chronic illnesses and spoony stuff and
Nice.
kind of everything under the sun, and just what else? Everything. Everything.
Just live life, a full
Yes,
life.
yes, yes.
That's
And
fantastic.
just do what I want to do and do what genuinely makes me happy. That's,
Absolutely.
that's definitely on the list. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic.
Thank
And
you.
so you mentioned earlier about how you advocated for yourself, especially with your professor. How would you recommend that other people advocate for themselves just generally in their life?
It's not going to be, it's always, and I don't know why, but it's always a scary and intimidating thing for me when I'm, advocating for myself. But it has to be done, guys. It has to. And it's, even if it's hard, just push through it, and tell your story and use your voice, because you just never know how you'll be able to help somebody else, and even educate the person, that you're advocating to, like the butthead professor. Like I said, to this day, he's always thanking me for, that whole ordeal, because he learned so much and was able to have a different outlook on, certain things around him. And so, even though it's intimidating and it's hard, I feel like it's just really, really important. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. First couple times using your voice, it could be a little scary and a little uncomfortable, but I promise you, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And just know that it is needed. It is very much needed in our society.
It is. It really is. And I mean, who knows how many people you helped by educating that professor? I mean, he was so awful, and
Yes.
you enacted a huge change in him.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it had to have helped a lot of people, and that's fantastic.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's true. It really is. So I have a few more questions about kind of our relationships to other people. So for people who don't have chronic illness, what are some things that they should say to someone who has a chronic illness? And what are some things they never should say to someone who has a chronic illness?
Oh, my favorite. Never, ever, 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 ever. I hate it. Is feel better. I hope you feel better soon.
I never thought
That
about that. Yeah.
irks me. And so I tell people, you should say, I hope you have a better day. Or I hope you have as good of a day. Whatever your good day looks
Yeah.
like, I hope you have that good day. But it's just like, even, I have family members that, I hope you feel better. And it's just like, I'm not going to feel better. And that's just the
Right.
whole premise, and my whole stance is what I want people to
Yeah.
realize. It's chronic, so that means it's not going away. I mean, not most of the time people are coming from a good place. But like we said, we have to use our voice and be an advocate for ourselves. And we have to, educate people. So do not tell a person who has a chronic illness that I hope you feel better soon. Just say, I
Yeah.
hope you have a better day, or whatever a good day is for you, I hope you have that good day.
I like that. I like
Thank
that. I had not thought of that, but that's a fantastic idea.
you. Oh, thank you.
Anything else people should say or shouldn't say?
They shouldn't say, oh, you look so good,
Ugh,
but you look
yeah.
fine. we have to get away from, the exterior. We can all look fine. I mean, and I tell people, if you looked at all my pictures, you would just never think anything is wrong with me, like
Right.
ever. And I'm just like, I hate that, because it's like people, they write you off immediately. Like, she's fine. She looks fine. So, let's try to not say, oh, you look fine, to a person.
It's
this is,
really invalidating.
yes, it is. That does nothing for me. And what you should say is, I'd like when people, ask you how you're feeling today, and not how you're feeling, but how you're feeling today, because
Yeah.
that
Okay.
shows that you understand that there's a spectrum, and so some days are better than others, and that's something else that I try to tell people to move. Just when you're checking on me, and some people in my life, they do ask, well, what should I say, and what kind of questions should I ask?
That's nice.
Yes, and I do appreciate those
Yeah.
individuals that take the time to try to, learn how, to, interact with me, and, talk with me. And it was something else. I forgot again. It's that brain fog. Oh my goodness.
Right.
But
But that's really nice. That shows that people actually care.
yes,
And
it
they're really
does.
trying to make an effort.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do appreciate that wholeheartedly. I
Yeah.
think that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what are some things that you wish people understood about invisible illnesses such as ours?
I wish that they understood how should I say this? That it changes day to day. I could be okay enough to do something on this day, and the next day I just can't do it. So I
Right.
just wish people understood that it can change, it can fluctuate. Even with us sitting down right now with this interview, it could change,
Right.
within an hour.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I wish people will understand. I wish people would understand that it's not like, oh, so you're really flexible. So what can you do?
That's it. Nothing else.
Right. No, that's not just it. It's way more than just being really flexible. So and then, just say, well, can you do this? Can you do that? Like I'm some kind of circus freak
Oh
or something
God.
like
Yeah.
that. No, don't. That's so insensitive to me. You just sit here and ask me, like, put my body in all different kind of, positions, just for your thrill.
And
So,
damage yourself for me, please.
yeah, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That, and what else with EDS? Just knowing that, I don't know the answer to a lot of things. Yes, I'm dealing with it, and I'm living with it every day, but it's some things that I don't even have the answers to. Medical professionals don't even have the answers to. So
Right.
because there are no answers doesn't mean it's not real, or it's, invalidating. It's still very much, real. And, if I just pray that one day EDS gets as much as attention and research and dedication as, some other, I just sounds crazy, but, more known or mainstream chronic illnesses.
Right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think that, things that I'm doing, things that you're doing, just educating people little by little is getting it more mainstream, I hope.
Yes, me too. Yes, yes. Like, this platform is amazing. Thank you again for letting me, come on and talk and share.
Oh, I greatly appreciate it. You have such a powerful story. And I think that's really, it's so helpful in getting the message across. Just like, please stop with the nonsense discrimination. Just shut up and listen to people, for God's sakes.
Yes, yes. You turn on our listening ears.
Yes, exactly. Just like we tell little kids.
Yes.
Exactly. Adults are not good at that.
No,
My
at
goodness.
all. Oh my goodness. At all. It's crazy.
Yes. Are there any resources that you'd recommend to folks who have any of the things that you have, especially POTS or EDS?
Zebras need zebras. It's Facebook group on Facebook. You should definitely do that.
Cool.
And then there is the book, and I cannot think of the name of the book that I read. But if I can find it, I will definitely send it to you.
Yeah, and I'll link people up.
Yes, and then you can let the people know. But it's a book that I read about dealing with chronic illnesses and chronic pain, and just kind of trying to get through it day by day, and getting rid of that guilt complex that we have sometimes is associated with with our illnesses and things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. Well, Shayla, where can people find you?
I am on Facebook at Shayla Symone, and that's SHAYLA, and then space SYMONE, and the same for Instagram, Shayla Symone. And on there, I do, short videos and different posts and topics and things dealing with EDS and bringing awareness to our invisible illness.
Excellent. Well, I will link everyone up on the website and on the show notes. And Shayla, again, thank you so much for coming on. It has been a pleasure speaking with you, and I really appreciate you taking your time out to speak with all of us.
Oh, I absolutely enjoyed my time, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
It was absolutely my pleasure. All right, everyone, that's it for our show. Join us next time on The Spoony Struggle. Well, that's it for our show. To find out more, join us at www.thespoonystruggle.com. That's Spoony, SPOONIE. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Spoony Struggle. Please help us out by giving us 5 stars on iTunes and leave us a review so fellow Spoonies can find out what you like about us and discover their community in which to thrive. See you next time on The Spoony Struggle.